Hey everyone, I'm Tracy, and welcome to Cosmic Conversations, a space where we can discuss and decode the astrology of the moment. Today, we're going to be diving into the new moon in Capricorn, so let's get started. Depending on where you live, the new moon in Capricorn is exact on January 12th at 9 p.m. Pacific, or January 13th at midnight Eastern Time, 5 a.m. UK time, 4 o'clock Sydney time. It's exact at 23 degrees, 13 minutes of Capricorn, and it is a very Saturnian new moon as Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. Interestingly enough, we didn't have a new moon in Capricorn in 2020. We entered into the year of 2020 under the influence of the energy of a new moon cycle, but our previous two new moons in Capricorn occurred in 2019. And they were both south node solar eclipses. So we had a partial solar eclipse on January 5th, 2019 at 15 degrees of Capricorn. And then we had later on in the year, an annular solar eclipse on December 26th at 4 degrees of Capricorn. So in case you've been living under a rock, or with all of this Capricorn energy may have felt like you were living under a rock, we have just lived through the most intense period of Capricorn energy in our, let's say, current incarnations on this earth. We've had Saturn in its home sign transiting since 2017. We've had Pluto transiting through Capricorn since 2008. Jupiter entered Capricorn in 2019. And then we had the South Node, which entered Capricorn in 2018. In addition to all of these planets and points in Capricorn, we also had new cycles begin in the sign. So we've had the much talked about Saturn-Pluto conjunction that occurred January 12th of 2020. We also had Jupiter and Pluto start new cycles in Capricorn. We had 3 passes of that particular transit. So we had the first in April at 24 degrees, the second in June also at 24 degrees, and then the last transit at 22 degrees, which happens to be the same degree as the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. In addition to those cycles, we also had Mars commence new cycles with Pluto and Jupiter in Capricorn back in March of 2020. So this is actually our first new moon in Capricorn since 2018 that's not an eclipse, but that doesn't mean that it carries less potential for life-changing results. As we'll discuss when we look at the aspects of this particular new moon, the major aspects are all to outer planets. So it very much carries the potential for life-changing, transformative new beginnings. As with all new moons in cardinal signs, this new moon carries the double energy signature of initiation. Cardinal energy naturally symbolizes this start of something new. It is Aries, which is the start of the spring or fall, depending on where you are. Cancer, the start of summer or winter. Libra, start of fall, spring. And Capricorn, the start of winter or summer. So that's one aspect of the initiatory energy. It's also a new moon. So it is the start of a new lunar cycle. However, as we've seen with the degree that this new moon is happening at, it is conjunct the Saturn-Pluto, Jupiter-Pluto conjunction points. So it is actually reactivating much of the energy that we felt last year, 2020. So yes, while we may have entered a new calendar year, the energy of 2020 is still very much playing itself out. We'll also see that Pluto happens to be at the same degree during this new moon that it was when it conjuncted Jupiter last year for that April and June transit. So very much so, reminiscing and bringing back some of the themes, the ideas, the events from last year. What is a new moon? A new moon occurs when the sun and moon align in the sky from Earth's perspective. It can be described as the point in the lunar cycle when the moon receives new instructions from the sun for the next 30-day cycle. So as you can see from the slide, here's the sunlight, aka where the sun would be. And a new moon's very dark because it's so close to the sun. The moon cannot reflect the sunlight, so we don't see that. That's that seed being planted at this time. So it depends on the sign that the new moon occurs in. That's what provides the themes, the events, the issues that'll play out in our lives for the lunar cycle. In this case, the themes are Capricorn. So, a new moon in Capricorn is a good time to set long-term goals because Capricorn is all about the long game, especially with respect to your career. Capricorn rules the 10th house, so it's very much about your reputation in the world, career, your status in the world. It very much is a good time to set up new structures in your life or assume new responsibilities. That's very Saturnian. As the architect or builder of the zodiac, Capricorn achieves its goals or builds its future based on plans. So this new moon is really a time to plant your seeds, set your goals, come up with a plan, and really set an intention. Direct your energy towards how Capricorn plays out in your birth chart. It's a time to stand in your own authority because Capricorn is very much about mastery. It's about going through Saturn's lessons, life lessons, and coming out on the other side being your own authority, standing in your own mastery. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that it's also a time that you reap what you have previously sown, since Saturn also represents karma. So the new seeds, plans, goals, or intentions, however you want to word it, that you initiate at this new moon require that you embody Capricornian or Saturnian qualities, such as discipline, patience, hard work, dedication, and perseverance. These goals require integrity. But don't be surprised if there are blocks or delays that test your dedication or perseverance. This is also very much the energy of Saturn or Capricorn. But most importantly, in terms of the timing, so you set these goals on the new moon, and most people think, well, I should be seeing something right away, or at least in the next 2 weeks when people tell me the full moon comes up. Yes, this energy will be strong for the next 2 weeks as the moon grows full. But in terms of the full manifestation or culmination, when that likely will appear, it could fully culminate in June 2021 when we have the full moon in Capricorn. But again, because we're dealing with Saturn that rules time, you have to realize that when you set these intentions, the manifestation of whatever goal will come in accordance with the cosmic clock or the universe's divine timing. So while you may see some things develop over the next 2 weeks, over the next 6 months, always know that it is ultimately in the universe's divine timing. So let's dive into the aspects of this new moon. So here's the chart of the new moon. For me, it occurs on January 13th. So in addition to the sun and moon carrying on their cosmic conversation, we have a number of different participants. And as I said earlier, they're outer planets. So the potential for this being a transformative, life-changing new moon is very much there. It's happening in the sign of government. So it very well could manifest itself with being new restrictions or new lockdowns as a result of the virus. It could be some government's last power grab at control over their constituents. It's very much a possibility. But in terms of the other participants in this conversation, as I'd mentioned, we have Pluto, who is conjunct the sun and the moon at this time. So the new moon occurs at 23 degrees, and we have Pluto here at 24 degrees. This is a lunar cycle that will be infused with the energy of Pluto, which represents what I like to call the STDs of the zodiac. Not the sexually transmitted diseases, although it very much could be. This is the sex, the taxes, and the death energy. It also represents debt. It represents other people's resources. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a significant other's resources. It could very well be their income, their investments. It could also be a business partner's resources. Pluto rules intensity. This is going to be an intense new moon and an intense next 2-week period, not just because of Pluto, but because of some of the other conversations that are taking place in the sky at the time of this new moon and thereafter. Pluto also represents the fear of the unknown, but not just surface fears. Surface fears are more the domain of Saturn. When we're talking about these types of fears, these are deep-seated fears with Pluto, bordering on trauma, psychological or other. So Pluto also represents secrets, dark truths. As I said, power, greed, scandal. Pluto is where we purge and let go of what is absolutely no longer serving us. It's transformative energy. It also represents obsession, our subconscious shadow aspects, and Pluto is the deconstructor of the zodiac. So we have been seeing Pluto move through Capricorn, deconstructing long-term structures within our society, such as our financial institutions, our government systems. All of these things are being torn down so that we can build anew. And we've definitely kind of seen that through 2020. Pluto also carries the energy of resurrection or rising from the ashes. So this new moon energy could definitely bring back past goals or plans to be completed in this time frame. This particular new moon, as I said, it's reactivating the energy of the Saturn-Pluto and Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. So we could very much see events and issues or themes that are reminiscent of January through to November 2020. It is very much a time to look back at that time, pre-pandemic, going into what were your goals? What were your intentions for January 2020? If you didn't meet them, if you didn't even set them based on some of the events of last year, maybe now's the time to plant those seeds. So definitely take a look back. Around the world, what we could see in terms of events, issues, or circumstances, as I said, very much going back to things that happened last year, but we may also see scandals and secrets revive. As Pluto rules death, the D of the STDs, it might be literally someone that we figuratively thought was dead or finished, resurface, rise from the ashes. It could literally be the death of some prominent leader within government or a CEO. Capricorn is the sign of the executive or CEO, and the sun represents leaders. So we may see CEOs or leaders fired, resign, ousted due to scandals or secrets surfacing. You could also see the death of some corporations, either through bankruptcy, which is Pluto, and they may have to refinance corporate debt to stay afloat. In addition to the conversation with Pluto, there's also a tense conversation between the sun, the moon, and Pluto over to Eris in Aries. Eris is our goddess of discord, chaos, and strife. She's the sister of Mars in mythology, and she represents the feminine warrior, or the energy of anger and assertiveness. She symbolizes where we need to stand up for ourselves and do things in our own way. She also represents where we might feel rejected, because Eris, the story of Eris was that she wasn't invited. She was the only one who wasn't invited to a party. So there is some rejection energy there, or where we feel slighted or not seen. She is the energy of disruption because she caused chaos and disruption at that party since she wasn't invited to it. She exacted revenge. So that's very much the energy of Eris. And she carries the energy of unrest and protest. Interestingly enough, Eris is also the mother of Dysnomia, who was the goddess of lawlessness. So we could say that Eris is the mother of lawlessness. So in terms of just imagining how these conversations are going on in the sky, if we were to picture the sun and the moon carrying on a nice, easy breezy chat at the coffee shop, we might picture Pluto sitting at the table next to them, eavesdropping, listening in on every aspect of their conversation, and every now and then adding in his or her 2 cents. If we were to picture Eris at the same coffee shop, Eris would be the lady or man off in the corner, screaming in their cell phone, disrupting our ability to carry on our conversation, being the sun and the moon. But because it's a tense aspect, a square from Eris, it requires some type of action. So if you were in the coffee shop and somebody was screaming into their cell phone, it would require you, in order to be able to continue your conversation, to take some action, either to get up and move or to stop talking until they stop talking. There is some action that has to be taken in order to deal with the energy that's coming at you from Eris. So this energy, aside from being disruptive, it may cause you anger, frustration, annoyance, but ultimately there is some type of action that needs to be taken. The other aspect to this new moon is a sextile to Neptune. So here on this slide, we've got Pluto, Sun, Moon, there's Eris holding her golden apple, and the other aspect is a sextile from Neptune. Now, with all energies, there is the ability to manifest these energies or utilize these energies at a higher or lower frequency. For Neptune, the higher manifestation of Neptune's aspect of opportunity to this Sun, Moon, and Pluto is to connect with our divine source, to utilize the spiritual practices and tools that keep you connected to the oneness of our universe. It is literally understanding that there is no separation. As much as when you look outside of yourself and you see chaos and strife and separation, it's the understanding that with Neptune, that's an illusion. Neptune is about illusion, deception. That's the lower octave or the lower manifestation of Neptunian energy. It's disconnecting from what makes us a collective consciousness. So at this time, there may be opportunities presented to you to completely escape Neptune by watching TV, mainstream media, Neptune, buying into the illusion or deception of separation. Neptune's also carrying on a tense conversation with the karmic nodes, so it heightens that energy around this time. But this time also presents you or has the potential of connecting you with source. So it really does come down to being up to you as to how you use that Neptunian opportunity or sextile to this new moon. So aside from the way that this new moon may show up in our external world, without going through all of the houses, I invite you to take a look at your birth chart and find out where this new moon is for you. How could this energy play out for you? Is it in your first house? For me, it is my first house. I'm a Capricorn ascendant. So does it signify a new beginning with your physical body, or perhaps the identity that you've constructed? Are you transforming how you appear in the world? Is it maybe in your third house, a new beginning in your local environment or your neighborhood? Could you be acquiring a new skill or resurrecting an old skill to help you in a new way? Maybe you're changing the way you communicate, or could be letting some sort of secret out to either your siblings, relatives, or neighbors. The third house is the Gemini house, so it very much does represent small businesses. So perhaps you had a dream at the beginning of last year to start a small business. Could you revisit that plan, put that in motion? I mean, it's a little hard this year, but it's not completely out of the realm. Could it be in your sixth house, a start in your new daily routine, habits, diets, health, or maybe you're changing your work, finding a new way to be of service. Pluto could unearth a health issue that acts as the catalyst for this new beginning. So keeping in mind, Capricorn rules the skeletal structure, the teeth, the skin, basically the things that keep our organs in. Is this new moon perhaps in your eighth house of new investments, refinancing a mortgage, perhaps getting a business loan? It could also very much bring the news of death that requires you to deal with tax or inheritance issues. Take a look at where this new moon is happening for you, where you can utilize this energy of resurrecting old goals, or maybe setting new intentions. Remembering, of course, that it will not be without its disruptive energy. It may not be without delays or roadblocks for you to navigate, but there is an opportunity here for you to connect with something bigger than you. Definitely Neptune rules dreams. So connect with the dreams that you have for your life. How do you want to structure it? Those are the things to consider in the energy of this new moon. If you have any questions with respect to where this new moon is happening for you, I would invite you to continue the conversation, keep it going by commenting below or hitting the subscribe button and continuing to follow the content that I post here at Cosmic Conversations. This new moon is an opportunity to start something new. So with that in mind, I'm sending you much love and wishing you many blessings from my heart to yours. Enjoy the energy of this new moon until we talk again. Be well.